If I was starting from zero and I wanted to pursue web design and land a client in my first 90 days, this would be my exact process of doing so. So, a little bit of a backstory. For about 2 months, I would be sending 250 cold DMs a day. And in these cold DMs, you're pretty much sending a generalized DM to business owners and seeing if they are, in fact, interested. And the whole goal of this is to ultimately get the email. And with that email, you are able to send a personalized mock up to their business and send it to their email and see if you can close them from there. So, for about 2 months, I was doing that. And out of those 2 months, I cannot lie with you, I landed one client for $300. Now, keep that one client in mind, okay? With that one client, it was really rough. Trying to get to that first client was a struggle, mainly because of the amount of cold DMs you had to do every single day. It takes multiple months on end. You're sending a lot of DMs every single day, and most of the time, business owners leave it on red. That's just the sad reality of doing cold outreach. And that's something that you have to get used to. So the big question is then, when you are sending these cold DMs, what is something that you can offer or something that you can do that other people can't, right? Because the web design niche is very oversaturated right now, and you need to be able to provide something else that nobody else can. So, a little example of this of, my business and what helped me was actually building sites that convert into real money. So this was from our first client that paid us $300 for a website. So obviously we started this in about February, and we're still working to him with him to this day, all the way up until this date. And when we were building him a $300 website, we had no idea exactly what we were getting ourselves into. But, as you continue working with clientele, you learn different processes of how to do web design, how to answer the questions every single client may have for you, and, ultimately building up your skills. So that's what our business had was we offered, being able to convert websites into actual money. So this is just for reference. We turned a $300 site. It says 6,000 right here, but up to date now, we switched to a different payment processing platform, and we've made our first client over $25,000. So this is just a screenshot I could pull up for when we were first beginning. But you need to be able to provide something that stands out to other people and other business owners, because at the end of the day, business owners only really care about one thing, and that's making more money. So you got to figure out how you can do that to, make you stand out to your competitors. So one of the biggest like things I can give you to learn about is, really locking down on a skill. You know, really learn how to use AI specifically, because AI is it's only getting more powerful as each day goes on, right? And you need to be able to have some sort of skill with that to be able to find clients and close them with it. Because as you're on days 1 through 30, right? You need to be perfecting your skills. It's going to be very difficult to land a client. I will not lie. So in this time when you are trying to land clients, you also need to perfect your skills. So by the time you do land a client, you can be able to really provide the skills that you've learned and put them to work. So this is what I suggest you should do as well. Even if you don't have clientele, you need to be still building out websites. That's a number one thing that you need to do. And even if you don't have clients, you can easily find business owners on Google Maps, right? Just go to Google Maps, search up plumbers near me, detailers near me, and see if any of them don't have a website. And if they don't have a website, make one for them, right? Make it for the business owner and, really perfect that website that you create. And not only is this going to go on your portfolio that you can send to other business owners that you're trying to work for, but there's a good chance that, if you do a great job with whatever website you do end up making, you can send it to the business owner, right? They have their phone number right here. They have their email most likely. And that's also a potential client you can gain right there. So it's a win-win either way. So one of the biggest things when you're trying to do outreach is you're going to get responses from people saying, hey, can I see your past work, right? Can I see what you're able to accomplish? And with that, you need to have a portfolio. You can't just outreach to people wanting to build a website for them if you haven't really built them yourself. And that goes into the skills that I was mentioning earlier. You need to perfect your skills and really create something that's worth showing to other people that you're proud of. You need to be proud of the websites you make, and you need to take actual time on them. You can't just dilly dally on it and not really give it much effort. The more effort you get in, the more you're going to get out from things. So, if we go back over here, this is when, after you lay down the plan and the blueprint for everything. This is where you're actually trying to get, your first client, right? Days 31 through 60. So this is phase 2 of everything. So like I said, I suggest doing cold DMs through Instagram, right? Business owners, they are very active on Instagram and Facebook too. And it's a great platform to kind of reach out to people. So I definitely suggest going on Instagram, and I will, give you a good way of outreaching to business owners. But I definitely suggest 250 a day cold DMs on Instagram. That's going to be your platform you're going to want to go for. So for your DMs themselves, they need to not, they can't be generic. They can't be generic. That's out of the question. It has to be personalized, right? Because business owners, they get cold DMs hundreds of times a day, right? They get it a lot. So you need to make some sort of a DM that's personalized to their business and stands out. So in this one right here, this was a screenshot of a cold DM that I sent a business owner a while ago. And one thing that I noticed when I went on his website was, he had a website, right? It looked decent, but the one thing I saw for him was he didn't have a way for people to book, right? People only could book through him through contacting him, calling him, texting him, whatever. And that's a clear problem for someone like a detailer, right? A detailer is someone that always needs to be working. They're always on the job. They're always busy. They shouldn't have to take time out of their busy day to book other people. So I pointed this out to him, and I got a response from that. So that ended up going into a conversation and a call and etc. So that's what I mean by, having personalized outreach gets your foot in the door. It really makes you stand out because you're actually putting in effort and it shows you care about the other person's business. So this is the angle of things. You don't want to go in an angle of, hey, I build websites, right? Especially when you're cold DMing business owners. You need to go in the direction of, this is why you are losing money. Business owners, they get hundreds of DMs from people saying, hey, like, let me build you a website, right? And that's just like, it's generic, and they've read it thousands of times before, and honestly, they get annoyed by it, right? So go into the cold DM with an approach of pointing out their insecurities of their business, right? They don't want to wake up wanting a website. They want customers. That goes back to the point I'm making of, they want to make more money. They don't care about, how the website looks entirely. I mean, sure, that is important, but at the end of the day, a business needs money in order to prosper. So for your Instagram account itself, you're going to want to warm the account up. 250 a day from a brand new account can get you restricted in some parts. So definitely make a profile picture, make some posts if you can of your portfolio work. I can make a deep dive into actually, how to create good content for your work that you make. But you're going to want to follow accounts. You want to follow business owners. You want to open up a network to other business owners to kind of get your foot in the door. And most of all, this is probably the most important part when you're cold DMing. Only DM accounts that follow you back. If you're trying to request to DM, accounts that don't follow you back, Meta's going to block you for spam. And like I said previously, you're going to get restricted. So that's something you want to make sure you do. But yeah, for actually charging for a website, you're gonna run into the situation of, hey, what do I charge, right? So for us, we got pretty lucky and we came up with a $300 transaction. And to other people, that's really cheap, and it is really cheap, especially now for how much we've developed in terms of web development. But if you really want work, if you really want clients, I definitely suggest, trying to somehow get a transaction in there, right? Working for free can get you customers, it can get you clients, but it doesn't give you authority that you want compared to you actually charging somebody. So it gets you proof, but free ultimately doesn't get you much. So I definitely suggest trying to charge some amount of money if you can, but if not, it's totally okay to, do the work for free, especially in the beginning, because that's where you get proof. And proof is one of the most important things that you need in a business. You want people to understand why they should choose you, and you want to have people that can back you up for that. And that's where everything starts compounding. So, you need to, on your client, whatever client you end up landing, whether it be one or multiple, you need to over deliver, especially on one of your first clients. You need to do a fantastic job for them, and you need to go all out. You need to do the highest leverage work you will do all year. And even if it is a $300 project, you still need to over deliver at the end of the day. Over delivering shows you care about them and you care about the results that their business gets. And ultimately, if you care more about the business, they're more likely to not only give you testimonials, give you proof, but most of all, they will give you referrals. I'm pretty confident that they will give you referrals. And not only that, but it also tightens the business client relationship. And it's something that every business owner needs. So once you over deliver and you do a fantastic job, you're gonna want to ask for a review. So your company, your business, whatever agency you decide to make, I definitely suggest making a Google business profile. This is going to be helpful in terms of people online trying to find your work, and also a place where you can get reviews. So ask for the review out loud in words, and get that 5-star rating. This is one of the 5-star ratings we got. So we got actual social proof from somebody, from an actual business owner, talking about how good of work we did. So this is one of the first things that gave us our social proof. And then after that, you build a case study, right? You build a testimonial about everything. So this is on our website, our current website for our agency. And we have a whole dedicated page of, our first client and what we did for him, as you can see down here, and what ended up happening. So in a case study, you need to point out what was broken, what you did, and then what happened, right? That's the 3 steps you need in order to do that. And once you're able to do that, having a case study is something that's very powerful, and it does give you authority. It makes you stand out a lot more. So, after you're done with the business owner, the client that you are working with, you're going to want to ask for a referral. So if they don't do this anyways, which they probably will if they like you enough, you ask for a referral and they'll send you to people. So this was a random DM that I got from a car rental business, exotic car rental business. And he reached out to me and he's like, "Hey, I want you to build me a website. Is there something you can do?" And look at this message up here. I was recommended to you by a friend of mine. See, that is the best way to compound clients is referrals. Getting warm referrals is super easy to close compared to somebody you're trying to get on cold outreach. And it's not even close. Referrals, most of the time you will be able to close, especially if you can do a good job. So, go back out and send the same messages, right? When you have a case study, testimonials, you have a result, right? You need to be cold DMing people the same messages that you were before. And now when people ask about it, you have stuff to show, right? You can post stories with the testimonial. You can make a post about the case study you had, right? There's a ton of different things that you can do that will make you have more backup for social proof, and it will make you stand out a lot better compared to where you first were. So now it just compounds, right? So the client goes to, when you first land a client, you over deliver, right? And when you over deliver and you work hard, they're more likely to give you a testimonial. And with the testimonial, you can get a case study done, put that on your website, put that on your social medias, and a case study goes to a referral. And when you get a referral, I'm not even kidding, 9 times out of 10, that's a closed client. So that's the framework right there in order to, get everything done. So that's the whole 90 days kind of summed up pretty shortly. You want to master the skill in days 1 through 30. You need to know what you're doing. You need to understand it, and you need to be able to, prove that. And then days 31 through 60, you land that first client, right? You actually work for somebody, you over deliver. And lastly, you get the results. You get the proof on days 61 through 90. It all works together in the same framework to, get you money coming into the door, right? So that's the 90 days kind of summarized right there. And then once that's done, it flips and people can come to you, right? Once you start actually making money doing web design, you can use that money into paid ads and get inbound leads, right? You can have people come to you wanting to work with you. I can make another video talking about, ad structure, ad campaigns, and, Meta and Google ads and that kind of a thing. So you can get a better idea of what you should be posting and how to get actual qualified leads to your door. But, when you are getting money, you'll have people coming to you, and that's a really good feeling. So, that's the last step, really. That's all it is to, this, right? Especially when you're first starting out. Um, I'm not gonna lie, it's not an easy process. It's not. It's really not an easy process. But if you're able to put your head down and really work and grind for this kind of thing and really struggle with the cold outreach and really feel how bad it is, because it is rough. It is rough. You'll end up in a better place, and I'm sure of that. So I hope you really enjoyed the video. This is the blueprint. So this is the curriculum that I offer. I have the Discord. I can put that in the link in the description. But you can also go to blueprintpremium.com right here, and you can join the Discord. In the Discord, we have a community of, other web designers and aspiring web designers. And in that community, we talk about everything. We get, feedback, tutorials on everything like this tutorial that you're seeing. And we also have a premium $20 a month offer. So in that offer, you'll work with us one-on-one. You'll get sections by us, background videos that we use. You'll get a lot of really important things that will be useful in your web design journey. So if that interests you, go check out blueprintpremium.com, or, go to the link in the description. But other than that, that's all I have for you today. I really hope you enjoyed this kind of a video, and let me know if you want to do something like this in the future. But go build something, right? Get out there, go struggle, go through it, because a business is hard. Running a business is hard, and trying to get business can be hard, especially when you're starting out. But if you grind enough, if you have enough perseverance, I have no doubt in my mind that you guys can do something amazing. So, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, night, evening, wherever you guys are, and I hope to see you guys in the Discord. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day.